Okay, it's the end of the session. This engaging dog, we like to use positive words, is Lincoln. And this is Lizzie, and this is their roadmap to success. Primarily, we work with Lizzie. He's a good dog. Well, he has some issues too. As you can see, he's very pushy for attention, and that's because it's worked for him. And so I'm going to talk about petting with a purpose, and that will solve this problem. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So one of the first things I want to talk about is something I wanted to remember for the kennel. She is a kennel dog because she has possibly some separation anxiety. She chews little things up when she's left alone. The guardian knows not to leave her in the kennel for longer than 4 hours. If you leave a dog longer in a kennel for longer than 4 hours, it can release cortisol into their blood, and that's the stress hormone. Sleeping overnight is different if you're leaving. And so when the guardian comes home, Lizzie is in the kennel barking. She's very excited. Most of us confuse excited for happy when it comes to dogs, but excited is an unbalanced state of mind, just like stressful, anxiety, fear, anything else. So when the guardian comes home, it's also important to remember good attention, bad attention, pretty much the same thing. So when the guardian comes home, I'd like her to come home, and she's going to come in from here. Just do your normal ritual. Don't look at her when she's barking. Don't tell her to be quiet. Any attention is validating. So you're just going to come in and do your thing. She can see you, and you're just going to keep on doing your thing until she's quiet. She stops barking. As soon as she stops barking, I want you to start walking towards the kennel. She starts barking, turn around, and walk away immediately. This is what's known as operant conditioning, which means that my behavior is impacted by what the dog does. When the dog barks, it is invisible to me. I'm not going to start the process of letting out. As soon as the dog stops barking, I immediately go and start letting the dog out. As soon as it barks again, it stops it. So it'll feel like a waltz. You'll start and stop multiple times. But eventually the dog will figure out when I'm calm and quiet, that's when the process of getting to the kennel starts. That's the first stage. Just getting her to stop barking so you can go over there and open the door. Until you come home and she stops barking and you walk over there and you can do that. Once you've achieved that, where 5 times in a row you've come in and she's not barking and you walk over the kennel, she doesn't bark the whole time, you let her out. Now we'd like to raise the criteria. We'd like to help her recognize that laying down, sitting, which is a more desirable, or it just puts the dog in a bit of a disadvantage. It also tells us the dog is comfortable and relaxed, is now desired to get out. So then what I do is I go to the kennel and I just stand there and wait. Now if the dog barks, turn and walk away. But I stand there, I don't start the process of reaching for the kennel or the door or the latch or anything. I just stand there. I'm not even going to look at the dog and I'm not telling the dog to do anything. This might be a while, so make sure you use the bathroom first and have a glass of water there, but you have to outlast your dog. Say the word.
Night.
There you go. All right, back to me. So basically, as soon as she sits down, reach down, be careful. I normally say fast, but for her, you don't want to do too fast. As soon as she sits down, reach down, latch and open it, let her out. After a while, she'll learn that sitting now is what is required to get the door to open. Once you get to the point where now when you come in, she's quiet, you walk over there and she sits down, pretty much within a couple, maybe 10 seconds or so, then start reaching for the handle. If she gets up, pull your arm back and stand there. Don't tell her to do anything, just stand there. Wait for her to sit down. When she does, start reaching again. Again, this is operant conditioning. What we're saying now is not only do I want you to sit, I want you to sit and remain seated while I open the door. And it'll go back and forth several times, and eventually you'll be able to reach the whole way, and she'll stay seated, but as soon as you pop that, she'll probably get up. And that's okay for the first time, you might let her out, but eventually after a while, once you pop it, if she gets up, then you pull back and we wait, and we don't say anything. And eventually you go through the whole process, you can open the door, and she stays seated, and she's calm, and she's quiet, and then we invite her out. And if you want to take it further than that, once you do that and you open the door, you're standing there in front of it, and if she gets up, tries to come forward, you would take a step towards the kennel to block her with your legs and wait right there. When she sits, take a step backwards. She's going to get up, take a step forward. So what you're saying is, I want you to stay seated, and you're doing it in dog language. And so eventually you'll take that step back and she'll stay seated. Then you invite her out. The next stage, once she does that 5 times in a row, 5 different visits, then you take that step back and wait 1 second. Then call her out. Then 2 seconds, 3 seconds. I have a dog named Callie. I take my puppy classes. I'll put her in a kennel in the back of the room, and the kennel stays open the entire class. Dogs are in the room running around, playing around. During playtime, they're running past her. She stays there. And she doesn't come out until I give her the command word to come out. That's wonderful self-control. She's a rescue dog. A lot of times we have rescue dogs, we feel bad for them. We try to baby them and we remove all rules and structure. That can often rob them of the ability to gain confidence. To gain confidence through mastering new skills. And it's really important for all dogs, but especially rescue dogs. So, okay, so let's go back to my normal roadmap to success where I'm going to summarize what we went over in the session. When I first came in, and I would have your family members, like we talked about, practice coming to the door. So when I go to the door, we open the inside door, we leave the outside door open. And I just stood there and waited. And as soon as the dogs were calmed, then I started the process. Now I did cheat a little bit with him. I opened the door before the guardian got to the door, and I put 2 or 3 treats right in the well between the door, inside and outside door, and he come up and got them. So I think that kind of helped a little bit. And she kind of stayed behind him, but I waited for the barking. Once the barking stopped, then I reached for the handle. Now, if the barking continues, this is probably a good day. Normally they might bark. As soon as they're barking, then the person pulls the hand back. That's why it's nice if we have family members or friends do this, because it's a cold outside. And tell them, look, as soon as the dog gets, have them just watch this video. So as soon as you reach for the handle, the dog starts barking, pull your hand back and just stop and wait. If they really bark, you might want to turn sideways to them. Sideways is less confrontational. And what we're saying is when you're calm, that's what starts the process of people coming in. When you're excited, the process stops. No punishment, just the process stops. Eventually they can be calm, and when they do come in, maybe have them, give them a couple treats and say, ask him for a sit. For her, maybe just give the treat if she's comfortable with them. Eventually we'd like her to sit too, but we don't want to ask for more than she can give. So we want to, that's a nice entry. So basically, she's pooped. The first thing we talked about is exercise. So I'm going to go over a couple creative ways of exercise. I'm just going to go to the highlights, so message me if you forget any of these. The doggy stairmaster. Remember to do that always with an empty stomach. And I would check with your vet to make sure there's no mobility issues. We want to do no harm. First time I do it, I keep throwing those treats up and down. Remember to say the command word when the dog licks up the treat. And funny word like Mexico at the bottom of the stairs, call it top of the stairs, Canada or North Pole. And treat goes in the mouth first, command word after, not for this, but for this plus any other exercise. Or sit, and then I pet, if I'm going to use the petting instead of the reward. So the first time I do it, I keep on doing it until the dog's like, you're crazy, man, the 28 times, I'm not going down there anymore. Now we know the maximum number. They probably need to be exercised 50 to 75% of that maximum number, like maybe a couple times a day. Before guests come over, before you do the exercises in the video above, exercise him on the stairs. Then give him a bully stick upstairs. So he's tired, we placate him, we gave him some to redirect so he doesn't bark, because that will be a negative contributing factor. Or have a dog walker come and walk him while you're doing these, working with her. The doggy stairmaster, we'd like to see a couple times a day and set her up, or both of them up for success. She'll probably do that one too, because all she has to do is get the treats. She probably looks more athletic than him, so she might need more than him. And just figure out which one it is that first time, then you know how many times to exercise them. And you can do that probably, I bet you could probably exercise both of them within 5 minutes. And if you need to, you can do that 2 or 3 times a day. During the 4th of July, a lot of exercise during the day, it's not going to solve the problem, but it will make it easier. So exercise sets them up for success. Other things you can do is scent games. Go Google scent games and just hiding treats around. The other thing you can do is get a snuffle mat. It'll look like the tassels on that little blanket there. You can get them on Amazon. Just remember for Snuffleupagus, or just look it up. And it's about, they're probably about $20 or so. You can wash them in the washer. They will be a little funky. But you put all her food in there and work it in. She's got to use her nose to find it, then lick up the treat. That boosts her confidence. It is a way of exercising her. It's calming. It's getting her training, practicing using her nose. There's about 4 or 5 really beneficial things to that. The other one I like using is an Omega Paw treat ball. It's an orange ball, about softball size. It's got a little hole, and you can put the food in it. My dog, when it nudges it around, every time it licks up 2 or 3 pieces of kibble that come out, I say soccer. My dog looks like a little Pele now, doing this thing around the house. Now, when you're feeding them, the guardian should eat something first. Then he should eat next, and when he's eating, she's not allowed to be within 7 feet. You use those escalating consequences to keep her away. I don't think she will. And then when he gets done eating, he has to leave the area. If there's any leftover food in his bowl, pick it up and dump it empty. But it's important to put the empty bowl back down. Then he has to leave the room, and she gets to come in and eat. When she's eating, he's not allowed to be within 7 feet. These are great ways for the dogs to see you acting like a leader by enforcing rules, which I guess we're talking about now. But the feeding is a nice way to burn some energy. Rules. One of the rules, again, what I just talked about. Another rule is I usually like to recommend no furniture. Now, because we're hardwood floors, I would recommend going to Carpet Land, get their really nice carpet, whatever color, preferably white, light gray, lighter than this, or a light cream, and no pattern on it. And have them cut it into little sections. Have one for the bottom of the stairs, like I said, a big section that's kind of wedged in there so they're not going to blow out a knee or anything. But they're sleeping on the floors now, but it's winter. It's Nebraska. There might be times that they want to, this can be warm. The floor is going to be colder. Also, heat rises. So it's going to be warmer here than it is down there. So if you have them, I like to put a big dog bed right in front of your TV. Remember, just throw a treat. When the dog goes over, has one paw on it, and licks up the dog bed, call it Jamaica or whatever you want. Do that about 10 treats in a row. Then when the dog's outside, leave a treat there. And it comes in, don't say a word, don't say it's right there. Wait for the dog to discover it, just watch. And as soon as the dog licks it up, they say whatever the command word is. A Gettysburg for you, maybe. So eventually, the dog will this is a good place. Every time I'm here, there's treats. Then it'll start checking there. When it does, you pull out a treat, throw the treat over there. Now when I come here, it rains treats. And now we've assigned a command word, a marker, and the dog will just want to go there. And now the dog is close next to you, and we've conditioned him to stay off the couch. Now those X mats, you can get those on Amazon or Chewy, one for each cushion probably, and any place that you need to do it. And again, when you get done with those, if you want to get rid of them, actually for your group, you might want to use those because I usually recommend for rescue groups not to let rescue dogs on the furniture because the next guardian may not want that. And now you've instilled a bad habit. A lot of dogs come back and they're used to not doing it. So if you have a dog like that, that's a nice way for maybe sharing with the group instead. The X mats are about 11 or 12 bucks a piece. Other rules, you have to sit at the door. Go to the door, tell the dog to sit one time. If they don't sit within 3 seconds, walk away, sit down nearby, wait 1 minute, then go back and tell them again, only once. Remember, the more you say it, the less you mean it. So let's say the second time they say sit and Lincoln sits, and I open the door and let Lincoln out, and I wouldn't let her, and close the door and wouldn't let her out. Don't feel sorry for her. We're not asking a lot of criteria, just to sit. And it might be easier for her to sit when he's already gone out. But eventually the dogs will learn to sit at the door as a way of saying to come in or out. And you can do it both directions. Kind of a principle what I talked about, I guess, a little bit earlier in the same video about the kennel. Let me see, other rules. When you're eating, they shouldn't be within 7 feet of you. If you're in the kitchen cooking, they shouldn't be within you. For her, I think the kennel was really a number of versions of rules, and the kennel makes it easier for you to enforce them because you can't move around. Okay, so remember, dogs learn through repetition, consistency, and good timing. You have 3 seconds to correct or reward a dog. Remember, any attention is validating. So bad attention, good attention, same thing. Also, anything your dog is doing when you pet it is what we're reinforcing. So I pet a fearful dog, make it more fearful. Or a dog is excited, and I pet it more excited, or jumps up. Yeah, I'm petting you for jumping up on me. It's going to cause the dog to jump up more. Also remember that anything your dog does in your presence that you don't specifically say no to, not saying no is akin to saying yes. So remember to say no proactively, right away, or right before the dog breaks the rule, or right as they do it, not after. Let me see. We also talked about petting with a purpose and passive training. So he's a nudger. He is and he's a golden, so they have a lot of torque. He's got some force to it, but he's used to nudging people and they pet him. Leaders tell, followers ask. So if he tells me what to do and I pet him, then I'm validating that he's in charge. So next time I want you to use that counter order. So he nudges you, cross your arms and say sit. If he sits within 3 seconds, reach over and pet him under his chin. Remember, in body mechanic or proud dog's nose up. So try to pet, all things are equal here. You can pet him anywhere you want. Just don't pet him over, it's a good idea to not pet any dog over the head. You can, some dogs can learn it, but I usually recommend petting here because that makes them feel better about what they're doing. So if he sits within 3 seconds, pet him. If he doesn't sit, remember, playing hard to get works great for dating, works great for dogs. So then he doesn't get any attention from you. So no punishment, but no validation. Eventually he'll recognize, I can't tell her what to do anymore. I have to ask, and better than ask, I have to pay for the privilege of her attention, and I pay for it through a currency of obedience. He'll start coming and sitting in front of you to prepay for that attention. What he does, reach over and pet him under his chin, say, sit. Remember, they hear the first word you say, so don't say good sit, just sit. Okay. When people are here, you can use that watchword of paycheck, but since you're here, we don't have a lot of other people in the house. Putting those post-it notes will be really beneficial. Also, I want you to be careful if she comes up to you and he comes and shoves himself in there. Don't pet him for that. A lot of times we pet both dogs, but then I'm allowing him to steal from her. And there might be times where, you need to, again, give him a bully stick or something like that upstairs. He's Got something going on with this here. Come here, man. Come here. I'll help you out. Oh, yes. You might have an ear infection. It's a little sensitive.
Yeah,
Hurts him a lot.
it's wax buildup,
there you
and
go.
he needs it cleaned again today.
We get one of those wax candles. Okay. Probably not good for dogs. Okay, so that's petting with a purpose. And even if you want to pet him, tell him to sit. Eventually her too. And if they do it, great. If they don't do it, they don't get that attention. That creates motivation and it makes your pets more valuable. I can smell it. All right, the next thing is passive training, which is a lot about what I was doing for her. So I'll do it right here. It looks like she's probably going to come over. So I'm not enticing her. I have a treat ready to go. Come. She took one step towards me. That's all that's necessary. Passive training is waiting for the dog to organically offer you the behavior you want. You're not holding a treat, waiting for the sit. You have a treat ready to go. So I'll do it with next time one of the dogs come. Come. I'm putting in context, coming to David is rewardable. And again, I'm not trying to pet. Last thing for your guests, make sure you tell your guest to reach for her. And if she does that, then they can try reaching again. If she backs away, then you pull your hand back. Backing away or turning away is a way of saying, I don't like that. Sit. So for her, what I think sit is the thing you're going to really get the most out of it first, and that will be a door that you'll open to Pandora's box and a whole bunch of other things. But name all the individual toys for passive training. Every time she brings you that, call it Tiger. Name all the toys, so that way every time they bring you a toy, you can name the toy. That creates a command word as well. When she's peeing or pooping, say the command word while she's peeing or pooping. I have a command word for each of my dogs to eat. So every time maybe she eats, we say sushi. When he eats, we say meatball. So when she takes her first bite of food for 4 months, we say the command word. So passive training is just waiting for the dog to organically offer you the behavior you want, rewarding them. In her case, treats. In this case, I'm probably more pets. You can give them treats too, but don't worry, pets are just fine. And then saying just the command word and doing that in that 3-second window. So also, we didn't talk about this, but you mentioned the chewing. Do you have a lot of good chew items for them? How many toys do you have?
Quite a few, but she will only take Nyla bones.
Okay. How many is quite a few?
In total toys, probably a dozen.
Okay. I tell people, this is why I ask, because I tell people they should have a minimum of 20 toys.
Oh. Okay.
And so like, so many. How many you got? Like 12? You need 8 more.
Yeah.
So, and I like to have more than that, and chewing Amazon is the best place to go. What I do is that every once in a while I take one toy out, put it in a closet, and I grab one from the front of the box, put it back in circulation, so that way they kind of stay fresher a little bit. Some other toys that you might want to consider. If you go to the Green Spot, they have all sorts of stuff that you can chew on. I'm sure your rescue goes there a lot. Edibles are great, but also antlers. A lot of dogs will chew on antlers.
Okay.
Water buffalo horns usually are very desirable. They will stink for about a week or two, but after that, it won't have a stink, and it will probably outlast your dogs. And real bones. Now, they can't have cooked bones. They can splinter. But real bones that have been boiled, and you can get those on Amazon or places as well. You can get them with marrow stuff in it or just other sorts of filling. I usually they need to, when they're stressed, they like to chew on things. So I like to have Nyla bones and get the Nyla bones of different shapes and flavors. They come in flavors. And I have one that's a donut looking, a Tyrannosaurus one. I have one that some people think is an adult toy. But coming up with these different shapes and sizes and having a basket where they can put them all. And then at the end of the day, pick them all up, put them back in the basket. So half the fun is going and figure out what I want to play with today. And antlers and real bones. Come. She's doing so well. All right, so I went over the escalating consequences with you. I don't like to go over those in this video, so if you forget what those are, let me know.
Okay.
She's going to get a lot of treats here.
Yeah, is she going to want dinner?
Sit. Yeah, and you might just feed her a lighter dinner. We love giving the dog their dinner through this sort of interaction. She's earning her food, and we're helping teach her what we want. Like we talked about off camera, most of us do a really poor job of communicating to the dog what we actually want them to do. Let me see what else. And for you, you can do that click for looks. So have the clicker. Every time she looks at you, click and drop the treat. After a while, she'll come closer and closer, and you put the treat there. You put it right here. Eventually, you're handing it to her. And the more she takes it from you, the more she's likely to do it. But if you ever go like this and she goes away, ooh, I'm front facing. Sideways, much more engaging. Watch the video above. If you have any questions on that or anything else, please let me know. If I don't hear from my clients, in our society, we call and complain if we don't like things. If things are going great, usually people don't do that. I'd love it if you give me a good review, or just say, hey, things are going great. I love those breakthroughs, especially dogs like this. But I want you to let me know if you have any questions or problems. If I don't hear from you, I assume everything's going great and I can't help you. But I like those video above. I have thousands of other videos like that I can share with a leave it exercise or touch target games or whatever it is. So make sure you let me know if you have any of those questions.
Okay.
All right. Well, this is Lizzie, and this is Lincoln. You can't see under the table, and I'm David, and this is our roadmap. This is these dogs' roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog. Only sometimes you mean it.
Interesting.